Hey everybody, Nick here from Solo Guitars. I'm excited to share with you our new product and a new tool in our arsenal of collection. So with that said, it is our excellent 3D printed radius jig for fretboards. It can also be used if you're in the case of a neck. Of course, what I mean that is a Fender style neck with your typical 3/4 to an inch of your thickness. Now, why am I excited about this? If you're like me, when it comes to doing the radius by hand, especially when you're dealing with ebony, it takes a long time, your arm's gonna be sore after a while, and it does have its flaws with it. However, with this tool, it takes all the guesswork and it takes the fear and the issues away from it. It's simply a great tool. One thing you're gonna need with this is, in particular, as you see from another clip, you're gonna need a 4.5-inch piece of MDF. Now, it's my recommendation if going with a fretboard for a guitar, about 28 inches, and with a base 32 inches. That allows the actual jig to have a little bit of extra space to ensure that it doesn't go tilted on you by the time you get to either end of the fretboard. Now, one of the beautiful things about this particular model is that it comes with a interchangeable radius insert. What does that mean exactly? Well, in particular, right now we have a 12-inch radius that is operated by 2 set screws on the side of the unit itself. As you can see, just a simple, straightforward little piece of plastic that essentially slips right into place, just as so. Makes it foolproof, makes it easily interchangeable, so you can change anything from a 7.25 inch all the way up to a 20-inch radius. Fantastic. Another fantastic thing about this tool in particular, this is made interchangeable for many different routers on the market. In this particular case, I'm a big fan of DeWalt tools. As you can see from some of the other tools in the shop here, we're black and yellow type. And when I say black and yellow, when it comes to these guys, it is color coordinated to each specific brand underneath to make it literally foolproof. So here at Solo, we do recommend that you use a Peza carbide tip flush mounted bit. Comes at a 1/2 inch diameter and an 1-inch depth. This is going to make your life simpler. It is actually designed in particular to work with the specific specifications listed on our website. What do I mean by that? Well, in this case, we have 2 pieces of 5/8 MDF. Put together, it gives you a 1.25 plus your fretboard width of a 1/4 inch, bringing you to 1.5 inches. It is very important that you have 1.5 inches in between from the top of your table to the underside of the actual jig itself. It is designed specifically to have that bit set at a certain depth to ensure you have the perfect radius. Now that you have your pieces cut, 4.5 inches wide, we have them double-sided taped together so they are not moving. They are nice and stationary. You're going to mark your center line and the center of this to make sure it doesn't move. And in this case, being 4.5 inches, that makes it 2.25 inches. So you're going to make the same adjustment on the back of your neck or your fretboard. So in this case, we have 1 3/4, which is 7/8 to your center, and 2.25 on the bottom, which is 1 1/8. Once you have those marks centered, you're going to put some double-sided tape and flatten it down onto your MDF. So with a double-sided tape, you don't need a lot. The more you put on, the more chance of actually breaking your fretboard when it comes to pulling it off. You want to be very careful in this particular part. You got your center line, you're going to match them up from the top to the bottom. You're going to give a good amount of pressure to make sure that that adheres from one piece to the next. You do not want this moving in this case. Once it's set and it's flat, we're ready to do the radius. We are using a router in this case, which is going to throw some wood in any different direction. You're going to want to make sure that your eyes are well protected. You only get one set. All right. When setting the height of your router bit, you want to make sure that it is just barely touching the top of your fretboard in the dead center. It's going to ensure that you have the equal amount on both sides by the time it is radiused. Now, another tip that I would give to you in this particular point is make sure that you go, obviously, with the grain, number 1. Number 2, you want to go on the edges first, working your way inside. This is going to eliminate the issues of tear out. In this particular case, we are using roasted maple, which is notorious for having tear out. So you want to give extra care if you're going to be using this type of wood. Now that we have the routing done, we're going to go back and double check our work with our double-sided gauges. Now these are our 2-pack of radius gauges that have a number of different radiuses on them. Go with a number that is corresponding with the current radius that you had, which in this case is a 12-inch. You can go back and double check. Judging by what I am seeing here, we've got a nice, smooth, and consistent 12-inch radius from top to bottom. Gotta like it. Radius done in a matter of minutes rather than possibly a couple hours. Now, another thing you're going to want to double check with a nice long straight edge. Make sure that not only was it good radius one way, but that she is nice and flat. Now, from what I can see, we got a nice consistent lat. You want to make sure there is no light coming through from either end of this. You want a nice, smooth, and consistent flat surface. The more issue you have there, the more meat you have to take in your frets. You want to avoid that as much as possible. The router bit obviously doing the most of the cutting. You still do need to sand it. I recommend starting at 400 grit and working your way all the way up to either 2,000 or 3,000, depending on how smooth and how shiny you want that before you put the frets and your oil into the fretboard. It's as simple as that. A tool designed to save you time, give you more fun in the shop, free up your time for other areas of your guitar building. So thanks for spending some time with us today at Solo Guitars. We look forward to having you back, and stay tuned for more of our tools, our kits, and more here at Solo Guitars.